This is Mike Adams, the Health Ranger, filling in for Alex Jones today. Alex is on the road, just finished up a very successful live event in Orlando yesterday, a complete sellout. Over 1,000 people showed up. He sold out that event, the first time, in fact, that venue has been sold out ever in the history of the venue, I think over 50 years. We've got a ton of news coming up for you today, including some commentary on the school shooting that has been reported this morning. We've got news on the Stratfor information leaks that WikiLeaks is now publishing. Got that information coming out. We've got also some interesting satire bits that I hope you'll enjoy. I've got one coming up on 10 vaccines we really need instead of the ones we actually get. That's coming up. Hope you enjoy that. We like to combine information with a bit of comic relief. And along those lines, at the bottom of this hour, we also have ventriloquist Ian Varela joining us with his character, Old Man Gramps. Now, for those of you on the radio, of course, you won't get to see him operating his character, but if you go to prisonplanet.tv and watch this, you'll be able to see that. In any case, his voice acting is fantastic. That should be a really funny bit. We've got that coming up. Also today, at the top of the next hour, Jonathan Emore joins us. He is a health freedom attorney. He's the author of the new book, Restoring the Republic, with a foreword written by Ron Paul. We'll be interviewing him about his ideas, which are very solid, very progressive, and very much restoring the Bill of Rights. Those ideas, you'll hear more about them at the top of the next hour when Jonathan Emore is our guest. And then finally, in the third hour, we've got Liz Reitzig, I believe that's how she pronounces it, joining us to talk about some very important events coming up this week about raw milk and food freedom. Yeah, there's a big event coming up this week that's driving the establishment absolutely crazy. And you need to know about it, and we're going to ask for your help to participate in that in any way you can. Now, getting to some other breaking news, we've got news about a peer-to-peer alternative news distribution application for computers. I put out the call for someone to build that. We'll talk about that after this coming break. We've got Wyoming advances a doomsday bill to look at what the state should do in the case of a total economic collapse. That's coming up. We've got the UK. George Osborne admits the UK has run out of money. Yeah, we'll hear more about that on the other side. We've also got Obama playing the race card, calling on churches to support the campaign. A new Harvard study says that pasteurized milk from industrial dairies is definitely linked to cancer. You know how they're always attacking raw milk and saying it's so dangerous for you. Oh my God, don't drink anything that's alive. Well, they don't tell you the truth that pasteurized milk is so filthy that if they didn't pasteurize it and kill everything in it, that milk would probably kill you overnight. It's very dirty, and it has, again, been linked to cancer. We'll get into more of that. We've got the emails from WikiLeaks, already mentioned that. And then the actual glossary of terms from Stratfor, where they get into describing the ATF and the FBI and Israeli intelligence and some of the other interesting organizations around the world. All that coming up and much more. Plus, a mystery virus kills thousands of lambs in the UK. This is being published by The Telegraph. The National Farmers Union has called it a catastrophe and a ticking time bomb. We've got the TSA airport checkpoint left unattended in Sacramento. Yeah, they just walked off the job there. Well, gee, I mean, who wouldn't? If you worked for the TSA, why would you want to stay, right? And then we've got, drone timetables are being announced by the FAA. Yep, the skies will be open to more drones in the next 90 days. We'll have that timeline for you and much more when we return here on the Alex Jones Show. This is Mike Adams, the Health Ranger, filling in for Alex today. Stay with us. We'll be right back with all that news and much more straight ahead. This is the Alex Jones Show. My name is Mike Adams, the Health Ranger, filling in for Alex today, who's on the road. He's in Orlando, Florida, just finishing up a very successful live presentation yesterday. We've both been on the road a lot lately. And I have to apologize. I'm a little bit stuffed up today. I sort of blew my voice out on Friday doing this bit. You know how I do these satire bits that are really relevant to current events? We did this TSA Help Wanted satire animation that was really popular that Google censored. And I did all the voiceover for that. And I was doing this voiceover bit for Bill Gates, you know, because Bill Gates is he's got his depopulation agenda, and he's got all this technology that's trying to cause infertility, like these ultrasound items that are causing infertility in males, and the mosquitoes and the GMOs and everything. It's like depopulating the planet. And I was doing this bit called Bill Gates the Sperminator. It was like the Terminator movie, but it was all about Bill Gates. And I sort of blew my voice out doing that, and then I guess I got exposed to something, so I'm slightly symptomatic, fighting it off, but feeling great. But in fact, bring up that cartoon. We did publish the cartoon on Friday of Bill Gates the Sperminator, if you would. For those of you watching on PrisonPlanet.tv, that's the cartoon, and it's a really funny bit. I'll do a little bit for you. It goes like dun 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 dun, using exotic technology from the future. Dun 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 dun. One man is trying to destroy humanity. Dun 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 dun. Hasta la vista, babies. No más hijos. Dun 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 dun. Yes, Bill Gates is the Sperminator. Dun 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 dun. Coming soon to a theater near you. Dun 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 dun. Humanity's only chance to fight back against the depopulation agenda is to catch him downloading Microsoft Windows updates and patches. And anyway, it goes on like that. It's just a little bit that hopefully we'll get finished and we'll play for you. Nothing like a little comic relief from time to time. Now, speaking of that, we are going to cover all the hard-hitting news for today. We've got Ian Varela coming up at the bottom of this hour, Jonathan Emord at the top of the next hour. He has a new book called Restore the Republic with a foreword by Ron Paul. And we've got Liz Reitzig talking about food freedom and the raw milk events coming up later this week. And now let's get right to the news. We've got, well, let's start with this one, the school shooting today. I'm not going to spend much time on this because all the facts haven't come out yet that are relevant, but there has been a school shooting today. Of course, the mainstream media is going to blame guns. Of course. What won't come out is whether or not the student or whoever ended up doing the shooting, we don't know that fact yet, whether or not they were on psychiatric drugs. Because we know that antidepressants and SSRIs and all of these psychiatric drugs cause children to feel isolated from reality. And the school shootings in the past, like Columbine, for example, involved children who thought they were playing a video game because their minds were so disconnected from reality. So they could run around and shoot their fellow classmates and not even feel anything, feel no empathy. They didn't even realize that they were doing that. And time again, not in every case, but in many cases, I would say the majority of cases, these school shootings are linked to psychiatric drugs. So it would be very interesting to see if this shooter or shooters, whatever the case may be, has been linked to psychiatric drugs. And if so, whether the mainstream media will even cover it. Why do we call them the mainstream? The hoax media. We still haven't settled on a name for that. But we're not going to get into the details of that shooting until we know more about the shooter. But just giving you a preview of the correct way to interpret that, it's probably drug-related, psychiatric drug, FDA-approved prescription drug related. Now, in other news, I've got an urgent red alert call for the development of a peer-to-peer alternative news application. This is a call that I put out last night on naturalnews.com that we need to fight back against censorship on Google, on Twitter, on YouTube, on Facebook, all across the internet. And the way to do that is we need a team out there who can develop a peer-to-peer, a BitTorrent-like application that allows us to share and carry news, text, audio, and video news that's distributed peer-to-peer. There is no application like that exists. I have tried to talk to Alex about that, but he's so super busy running InfoWars and he's on the road and so on. I just decided to go ahead and take on this project myself. If it's successful, we will, of course, share it with InfoWars. The idea being that InfoWars and Natural News would be the first two news organizations to use this peer-to-peer BitTorrent-like news application. It would bypass the search engines. It would bypass all the social networks. It would get information directly into the hands of people all across the country. So if you know somebody who is able to help develop that technology, send an email to p2p@naturalnews.com. Again, that's p2p@naturalnews.com. I will personally spearhead the development, the project management of that campaign, and share that technology with InfoWars so that we can get another pathway of getting information out to you that cannot be censored. This is crucial for the future of free information. I believe information should be free. And I'm also against all of the patents on seeds, all the patents on medicines, on foods, on animals, all of those things. I believe information should be free, and that application can help us continue to exercise our free speech rights, especially when times are getting increasingly uncertain. And along that note, Wyoming is now looking at a bill, House Bill 85, where they're saying it would create, this bill, if passed, would create a state-run government continuity task force which would study and prepare Wyoming for potential catastrophes, from disruptions in food supplies to a complete meltdown of the federal government. Isn't that interesting that the state of Wyoming is now looking at doing this? It would even cover Wyoming potentially issuing its own alternative currency. How's that? Yeah, very interesting. In addition, it would also examine the conditions under which Wyoming would need to implement its own military draft. Wow, you don't hear that very often. Raise a standing army and acquire strike aircraft and an aircraft carrier. Now, when I saw that, I thought, don't you need an ocean for an aircraft carrier? Because, I mean, maybe my geography is a little bit behind, but I don't think Wyoming has an ocean. Are you going to float the aircraft carrier out there in one of the lakes in Yellowstone or something? But notwithstanding that little seeming glitch in their plan, they are talking about raising their own army, having a military draft potentially. Again, it's not, they're not saying there's any urgent issue on the horizon. They're just saying, you know, the world is not stable. Let's look at what we should do as a state to protect the rights of our citizens, to protect the safety of our citizens. And I think it's I think it's an intelligent thing to do. But if more and more states do that, I wonder what the feds are going to think about that. How dare you states have your own army? How dare you think about your own currency? How dare you? That's what the feds are going to say about that. We've got a mystery virus that is killing thousands of lambs in the UK. Moving on to health news. Thousands of lambs have been killed by a new virus that's causing serious deformities such as fused limbs and twisted necks, which means the newborn lambs cannot survive. 74 farms across southern and eastern England have been hit by this virus. The National Farmers Union in the UK has called it a ticking time bomb. Now, when I read this news, I immediately began to think that this could be related to GMOs. I'm not certain of that. You know, the jury's still out on that. We need more science. But remember last week when Jeffrey Smith was on the Alex Jones show, and Jeffrey was talking about that virus type, the size of a virus, but I'm not sure if it was actually a virus, but a new microorganism that has been discovered riding along with the GMOs. It's been discovered in the animals that are fed the GMOs. And he talked about how all these animals that are fed GMOs do so much better when they get to a non-GMO diet. So I immediately began to think this could be a GMO issue. Maybe these lambs are being fed GMOs and they're being born with all these weird deformities. Again, I don't know that for sure, but it's something to check out. We do know that GMOs cause all kinds of infertility, and that's clearly not a good situation. TSA airport checkpoint left unattended in Sacramento. Yes, indeed. The TSA, quote, officers, shouldn't even call them officers. The minimum wage TSA employees, whatever they are, they left their post, and 5 people got past this unattended security checkpoint. As a result of the incident, here's the funny part. The officials said, again, this is TSA officials, they said that 2 TSA officers have been removed from screening duties and are to undergo additional training. Like, what, their initial training didn't include stay at your post? If you can't get that part of it down, you know, what hope do you have as a government oppressive, you know, moron thug working at the airport reaching down people's pants? You can't even stay at your post. I mean, isn't that the most basic thing that the TSA is supposed to do? Just stay at your post. Can't even do that. Let's see. I got something for you here. Last week, some news came out that vaccines are being developed for salmonella. Yeah, this is a foodborne disease, a foodborne microbe. Salmonella, it's not like you, the person, get salmonella. It's usually in the food, and then you consume the food. Well, they're trying to come out with a vaccine for salmonella, and they're saying that's going to save everybody from all this contaminated food. What are they going to come out with next? A vaccine not only for every microbe in a human being, but a vaccine for every microbe that might infect some food? And it got me thinking that there's vaccines for all the useless stuff, but not enough vaccines for the stuff we really need. So guys, prep that music in that slideshow. Let me know when you're ready. I've got a little bit here about top 10 vaccines we really need. Let me know when that's ready. instead of the vaccines we're actually getting, because the vaccines we're actually getting are things like dropping vaccines for coyotes and rabbits and skunks and turtles. Now they're actually dropping them on wildlife.